grade 7 learners, how are you today? Welcome to our English class. Prepare to learn while having fun. Show your awesomeness in our challenge gems. Collect gems along the way. I know you can do it. Don't worry, because I will be your guide. This is Mom Jen, and I tell you, in this discovery of the universal language, you are definitely in. Class, as we go on with our lesson, please remember the following. First one, when you hear this sound, it means it's time to pause the video. Second one, focus and learn to work on your own. It's okay to ask help from your learning facilitator when necessary. And the third one, observe proper hygiene by washing your hands or sanitizing them. Class, do you still remember our previous lesson on completing an analogy? Well, let's see if you can answer this activity. Choose the correct word to complete the analogy. You will be given 5 seconds to think of your answer for each item. Are you ready? Great! Number 1. Pandemic is to endemic, as global is to blank. A. Worldwide. B. Local. C. Universal. D. International. The correct answer is letter B. Local. Number 2. COVID-19 is to blank as UTI is to bacteria. A. Infection. B. Germs. C. Virus. D. Disease. The correct answer is letter C. Virus. Number 3. 1.5 meters is to 5 feet, as 3 meters is to blank. A. 12 inches. B. 18 centimeters. C. 10 feet. D. 14 yards. The correct answer is letter C. 10 feet. Number 4. Manila is to Philippines, as Wuhan is to blank. A. Japan. B. Taiwan. C. Indonesia. D. China. The correct answer is letter D. China. Number 5. Quarantine is to connect, as lockdown is to blank. A. Release. B. Confine. C. Restrict. D. Suppress. The correct answer is letter A. Release. Did you get all the correct answers, class? Great job! So here is your star. Now, I challenge you to get another star for this activity. Using the given pictures, complete the following statements. You will be given 5 seconds to think of your answer for each item. Number 1. Blank is like blank. It spreads quickly, silently, and efficiently. Number 2. Blank are blank because they risk their lives to protect us. So what's your answers now, class? It's time to reveal the correct answer. Number 1. COVID-19 is like glitters. It spreads quickly, silently, and efficiently. Who among you got it right? Well done! So for that, here is your star. Number 2. Frontliners are superheroes because they risk their lives to protect us. Did you get the right answer? Great! And because of that, here's your another star. How did you come up with your answers, class? What's your strategy in solving them? Do you now have an idea of what is our objective for this day? Well, at the end of this lesson, you will learn about using analogy to describe or make a point. And along with that, you will be receiving gems for your correct answer in our challenges. So wait for my cue and keep collecting them. Are you ready? Great! So class, I will show you an animated match burning video about how social distancing can help prevent the spread of coronavirus. After that, you are going to read the statements about it. Then, you will answer the questions that follow. Then later, we will process those questions and your answers. Did you like the video, class? Did you understand the message that it tries to deliver to us? Now, let's read the following statements. Think of COVID-19 as a fire burning in a forest. All of us are trees. The R naught or R number or reproduction number is the wind speed. The higher it is, the faster the fire tears through the forest. But just like a forest fire, COVID-19 needs fuel to keep going. Where the fuel? A few fire lines, quarantines, and social distancing measures keep the fire from hitting all the trees. That was according to Wilson in his writing in 2020. So now it's time for you to answer the following questions. So what are your answers, class? Let's see if you get the correct answer. Number 1, what are being described in the statements? That's right. The correct answers are COVID-19, all of us, reproduction number, we, and fire lines. Number 2, to what things or ideas are these being compared? Yes, the correct answers are COVID-19 is compared to a fire. All of us is compared to trees. Reproduction number is compared to wind speed. We is compared to fuel. And fire lines is compared to quarantines and social distancing. Why do you think are they compared? Exactly, they are compared because there is a similarity or commonness between the two unrelated ideas in the statement. Number 4, what is common between the two unrelated ideas being compared? Right, we can see that these unrelated ideas are being compared because letter A, COVID-19 and fire both spread quickly. Letter B, all of us, humans, and trees, both are victims or being affected. In our case, we are victims of the virus, while the trees are affected by the forest fire. Letter C, reproduction number, and wind speed, both are common when we talk about the movement and effect. To understand better, let's talk a little about R number and wind speed. R number is a mathematical term which refers to the transmission rate or how contagious our disease is. R is the number of people that one infected person will pass on a virus to on average. For example, suppose the reproduction number of COVID-19 in Kananga is at 1. It means that each patient can infect another one potential patient. On the other hand, the wind speed refers to the movement of air in an outside environment. In this statement, we read, we are comparing the R number and wind speed because there is something common in them. The higher COVID-19 R number, the more are infected with virus, just as the higher the wind speed is, the more damage it can create to a forest. Letter D. We, humans, and fuel both trigger the spread. COVID-19 needs humans to continue spreading, while fuel helps keep the forest fire burning and spreading. Letter E. Fire lines and quarantines and social distancing both minimize the impact. Did you get it? Well done! Now let's have number 5. What is the overall meaning of the statement? Great! It means that the spread of COVID-19 is fast, and that if we observe quarantines and social distancing measures, we can slow down the rate of virus spread and soon put an end to this crisis. Number 6. Do you like the way the speaker in this line described the idea? Why or why not? Did you answer yes? Alright, I like the way the speaker described the idea because it is very expressive and it encourages deeper thought and understanding of the idea. Number 7. In what way can you help promote social distancing at home? That's awesome! We can promote social distancing at home by practicing it with ourselves. We will serve as good role models to our siblings and friends. Number 8. What do you think is used by the speaker in this line in making his description or point? Do you know the answer? Let's see in our next discussion. But before that, here is your star for doing such a great job. So class, what really is the answer to that question? Are you ready? Then get your pen and your notebook and don't forget to take down notes. Now, what really is an analogy? What are the examples of analogy? How do we make an analogy? An analogy is a literary technique that involves comparison of how two things are alike, but with the ultimate goal of making a point about this comparison. Although often quite similar or related with simile and metaphor, an analogy is not a figure of speech. It is a rhetorical device used to make rational arguments and support ideas by showing connections and comparisons between unlike things. Remember class that simile is a figure of speech that compares two unlike things with the use of as or like. While metaphor is used to describe a person or thing using words that are not meant literally. It is just like a simile with as or like removed. The main function of analogy is not just to show, but also to explain or justify. Meanwhile, figures of speech like simile or metaphor only aim to show without providing clear descriptions or explanations. As such, analogy is more complex in nature than figures of speech. Let's take a look at how simile, metaphor, and analogy differ from each other. Examples of analogy versus simile and metaphor. Object, life. In this example, we compare life to a song. What is the similarity between life and song? Both have parts and stages. What is the example of simile? Life is like a song. Metaphor. Life is a song. Analogy. Life is just like a song. It has an intro, or the time when we were born, the verses, or our own experiences, a chorus, or our own repeated showcase of our personality, and the coda, or our own end in this world. As you can see, in simile and metaphor, it is just showing something. But in analogy, there is a better way of expressing the idea. Example number 2. COVID-19 compared to a wrecking ball. What is the similarity between them? Both can create great damage. Example in simile, COVID-19 is like a wrecking ball. Metaphor, COVID-19 is a wrecking ball. Analogy, COVID-19 is like a wrecking ball. It can create great damage to people, just as how a wrecking ball can destroy a building. In simile and metaphor, it was just trying to show something, but it was expressed even better in analogy. Third example, numerator compared to a sandwich cookie. What is the similarity between the two? Both can be found on top of another. In simile, a numerator is like the top half of a sandwich cookie. In metaphor, a numerator is the top half of a sandwich cookie. Analogy. In mathematics, a fraction has two main parts, the numerator and denominator. The numerator is like the top half of a sandwich cookie, while the numerator is like the lower half of it. As you can see, in simile and metaphor, something is just being shown. But in analogy, there is an explanation or justification of the idea about why a numerator and sandwich cookie can be compared with each other. The last example, musical notes compared to colors. What is the similarity between them? Well, both can create a distinct and special quality to something. In simile, musical notes are like colors. In metaphor, musical notes are colors. In analogy, musical notes are like colors because just as colors create beauty in the painting, musical notes create emotional sentiment behind songs. In this example, again we are comparing two things. And in simile and metaphor, we just state something, but there is no justification or explanation. But in analogy, it is made more beautiful and deeper in meaning. Now, how are we going to write an analogy? First one, use a strong support to your sentence. Examples, in the normal sentence, he ran incredibly fast in the race. If we state this with analogy, it will be like this. In the race, he ran with the grace and speed of a cheetah, smooth, flawless, and natural, as if he had been raced running across the plains of Africa. Class, in this example, we just don't simply show something. Instead, we make it clearer by adding strong support to the idea. Second, avoid common mistakes in analogy. Although analogies are useful and essential devices, it can be surprisingly difficult to use effectively. You don't want to make comparisons to just say anything. or your writing may start to look sloppy and careless. Here are some examples of poor analogies to show you the kinds of common mistakes you should try to avoid. Examples for letter A, dangling modifier. Here is an example of a poor analogy. He ran as fast as a cheetah in the race. Why do you think it's poor? Wait, class, there is a cheetah in the race? No, of course not. That phrase is an example of a dangling modifier. So what are we going to do? We have to move it to the beginning of the sentence. It will be like this. In the race, he ran as fast as a cheetah. So it is better now. Now letter B, undermining words. Here is a poor example of analogy. On that warm summer day, we went down to the beach, where the sand was as white as snow. Why do you think that it is a poor analogy? The author has done so much to show the reader that the setting is a warm, sunny beach in summer. But the word snow completely undermines that by bringing up images of cold, gray winter. Rather than improving the imagery, the analogy actually works against it. So how do we make it better? It will be like this. On that warm summer day, we went down to the beach, where the sand was as white as a blanket of sparkling white diamonds. We made it more beautiful now by replacing the snow with a blanket of sparkling white diamonds, which fits better to the analogy. So class, you learned about what an analogy is, how it differs with simile and metaphor, and how to write an analogy. Now you are ready for some exercises. So now let us start with our first challenge. When I say challenge, you say challenge accepted. Challenge!
Challenge accepted!
Great!
Get ready to accept the challenge. This is your challenge.
Read, examine, and classify each sentence as to simile, metaphor, or analogy. You will be given 30 seconds to answer this in your notebook. Are you done? Let's check and see if you got the correct answer. Number 1. For some students, mathematics is as easy as a piece of cake. What's your answer? The correct answer is simile. Number 2. COVID-19 is like a fire. It needs fuel to keep burning, and that fuel is us humans. If we don't observe social distancing, this virus will keep spreading just like a fire. What is your answer? Right! The correct answer is analogy. Number 3. For many, this pandemic is a death sentence. Did you answer metaphor? Then, job well done! Great job! You were able to answer our challenge gem. And because of that, here is your gem. Now let us proceed to the next challenge. Challenge!
Challenge accepted!
Great!
Get ready to accept the challenge. This is your extra challenge.
Identify the similarity between the objects or ideas in each sentence. Choose the letter of the correct answer in your notebook. You will be given 10 seconds to answer this. Time is up! Are you done answering? Did you get the correct answer? Let's see. For number 1, COVID-19 is like a viral video. The correct answer is letter B. Both spread quickly. Number 2. Our healthcare professionals are heroes. What is your answer? Letter C, both save lives. You did great once again in our extra challenge gem. And because of that, here is your gem. And now let's proceed to our next challenge. Challenge
Accepted.
great.
Get ready to accept the challenge. This is your extra challenge gem.
Choose the sentence which uses analogy to describe or make a point. You will be given 5 seconds to answer this. So, what is your answer, class? Let's see if you got it right. The Lord will protect us from COVID-19. The correct answer is letter A. The Lord is our sword and shield against our enemy, which is COVID-19. You got the correct answer for our last challenge. And because of that, here is your gem. What a job well done. I'm so happy for you, class. And now, it's time for you to apply what you have learned. Let's do this activity. Are you done answering? Let's see if you got the correct answer. For number 1, life is a walking shadow because it is fleeting, it comes and goes. Letter B. Number 2, COVID-19 vaccine is a seatbelt because it protects us. Letter C. Number 3, doctors and nurses are firefighters because they save our lives. Letter D. Number 4, we are like caterpillars because we can adapt to the changes brought about by the pandemic. Letter E. Number 5, our prayer is light in darkness because it gives us hope in times of crisis. Letter A. Congratulations for such a job well done, class. Because of that, here is a star for you. So class, you are now fully equipped with knowledge and skills of how to use analogy in describing or making a point. For your quiz, please turn your learning activity sheet to page 4. And for your additional activity, class, please do this. As you do this activity, please let your parent monitor you by letting them fill out the monitoring tool I provided. In making this activity, please be guided by the scoring rubric I provided attached to your learning activity sheet. I am so glad to have witnessed your awesomeness, class. Please keep up the good work. I want to know how you feel about this lesson. Please go to menti.com and type in this code so that I will be able to see how you feel. Thank you so much for being participative today. That ends our lesson. And don't forget, class, that in this discovery of the universal language, you are definitely in. Bye!